All right, let's get right into it. If you've got ADHD and you feel like all your go-to strategies are suddenly falling apart in your 30s or 40s, you are not losing your mind. We're going to dig into a hidden biological shift that could be the real culprit. This really surprising connection between your brain and declining testosterone. Think about it. You've built the systems, you know the strategies, you've been wrestling with your ADHD for decades. But maybe lately it just feels like you're losing the fight. That focus is harder to grab, your motivation has just vanished, and your medication, it just doesn't seem to pack the same punch. So what on earth is going on? If this is hitting home for you, listen, you are so not alone. This experience is incredibly common, but it's almost always misdiagnosed or just brushed off as, oh, it's just stress or, well, you're just getting older. But there is a powerful physiological process happening under the surface that has a direct pipeline to the ADHD brain. And that hidden culprit? It's the slow, steady decline of testosterone. And look, I know you probably connect it with things like muscle mass or sex drive, but its biggest, most profound impact might actually be happening inside your skull, with your brain's chemistry. Now here's the thing you gotta understand. This is not some sudden cliff you fall off of. It's a slow fade. It starts right around age 30, and your levels begin to dip by about 1 to 2% every single year. It's so gradual, which is exactly why it's so easy to miss. You don't notice the day-to-day changes, but you fast forward a decade and bam, the cumulative effect can be absolutely massive. And this is not some rare fringe issue. More than a third. Think about that. More than 1 in 3 men over 45 are walking around with testosterone levels below the normal range. So this becomes a huge factor that we just have to consider when those ADHD symptoms you thought you had under control suddenly feel completely overwhelming. So how exactly does this hormonal shift create a perfect storm for the ADHD brain? The answer is right there, where testosterone's influence and ADHD's challenges smash into each other in the brain's core wiring for executive function. Okay, let's start with the prefrontal cortex, the PFC. The easiest way to think about it is as your brain's CEO. It handles all the high-level stuff, planning, focus, reining in your impulses, the exact areas where ADHD loves to cause trouble. Now here's the fascinating part. The PFC is packed, and I mean loaded, with testosterone receptors. Testosterone is basically a maintenance chemical for this critical part of your brain. And this brings us to what you can think of as the dopamine-testosterone momentum loop. You know dopamine. It's the neurotransmitter for motivation, for reward, and it's a system that's already a little bit quirky in the ADHD brain. Well, testosterone acts like a booster for that system. It makes dopamine work better. So when both are high, you get this awesome, positive feedback loop of drive and motivation. But when testosterone dips, it's like turning down the volume on your dopamine, creating this nasty downward spiral that just kills your motivation and makes managing your ADHD 10 times harder. But here's a super important point. This is not about having the most testosterone you can possibly get. It's about having the optimal amount for your brain. It's a Goldilocks situation. Too little is bad, but too much can also mess up your executive function. This is a game of balance, not brute force, and that has huge implications for how we think about fixing it. So this deep, deep connection between your hormones and your brain creates a major diagnostic headache. With so much overlap in the symptoms, how in the world are you supposed to know if your ADHD is just getting worse or if there's something else throwing a wrench in the works? This chart just perfectly lays out the confusion. Take a look at motivation. For ADHD, we're talking about a chronic, lifelong struggle to just start things. For low testosterone, it shows up as a new lack of enthusiasm, a new lethargy. You see the difference? One is a trait you've always had. The other is a change in how you feel. That distinction, chronic versus acquired, is the absolute key to untangling this mess. Let's drill down a little deeper on this idea of brain fog. With ADHD, you've got this constant lifelong battle with paying attention, but hormone-related brain fog, that often feels like something new. It might come and go, it gets worse when you're stressed or haven't slept well. It's this feeling of a whole new layer of cognitive sludge sitting on top of your usual ADHD challenges. And because this overlap is so darn confusing, the real root cause gets missed all the time. Your symptoms get blamed on burnout or depression or just, hey, welcome to getting older. And while, yeah, all those things can be part of the picture, if you overlook the hormonal piece of the puzzle, your whole treatment strategy might be missing the point. Okay, so what can you actually do about all this? Let's talk about the path forward, because this is all about taking informed, proactive control of your own health. First things first, when you talk to your doctor, you have to be your own advocate and ask for the right tests. You need the whole picture. That means checking total testosterone, free testosterone, that's the stuff your brain can actually use, and something called SHBG, which is a protein that locks up testosterone. And don't forget, timing is everything. You have to get tested in the morning between 8 and 10 a.m. when your levels are naturally at their highest. Now, if those tests come back and confirm your levels are clinically low, then something called testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, might be on the table. It is a legitimate, validated medical treatment. And for men who are truly deficient, it can absolutely help with cognitive issues like brain fog. But let's be crystal clear about one thing. TRT treats low testosterone. It does not treat ADHD. And we have to talk about the risks, because they are real. Using TRT when you don't medically need it can cause serious problems, everything from blood clots to fertility issues. And hey, remember that whole optimal signaling thing we talked about? Pushing your levels too high can actually make the irritability and emotional swings you're trying to fix even worse. The bottom line, this is serious stuff that requires careful medical supervision, period. But here's the good news. No matter what your blood work says, everyone, and I mean everyone, can benefit from these foundational strategies. Heavy lifting, making 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep a non-negotiable, eating a diet full of healthy fats and key nutrients, and getting a handle on your stress. These are all incredibly powerful levers you can pull to support your body's natural hormone production and, at the same time, improve your ADHD symptoms. And this really brings us back to the most important takeaway of all. The goal is not to get the highest testosterone number possible. The goal is to find your body's unique sweet spot, its optimal set point for your brain to function at its absolute best. It's about restoring balance, not just chasing a number on a lab report. This chart really pulls the whole story together. It shows how those subtle issues you might notice in your 40s, a little bit of inattention here, some mood swings there, can start to build momentum. Then, as that hormonal support system keeps declining, they can snowball into much more intense problems with executive function and emotional control in your 50s and 60s. It really is a slow burn with a huge long-term impact. So look, for decades, you have built an entire arsenal of strategies to manage your ADHD. But the very neurochemical foundation that all those strategies were built on, it's shifting under your feet. The real question isn't whether your ADHD is just getting worse. The real question is this: is your approach to managing it evolving to meet this new biological reality? Because recognizing this interaction, that's the first real step toward getting your focus and your drive back under your control.